Shot fired. He's got a shotgun. Shot fired. He's got a shotgun.
Lone Star 187 is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised.
2 ambulances, 612, 613 is for shots fired. Lathrop in Washington, 724.
Okay, stage 1. 214, back up.
Episode 32, Richard Slatkin. Welcome to Lone Star 187. I'm Kerri.
And I'm Britney.
And this is this week's episode. We are
Lone Star 187.
So this week, where do you think we are?
What does it start with?
Somewhere in Texas, maybe? Sure. It starts with a B.
Burleson.
Nope. Good guess, though. This week, we are in Benbrook, Texas, which is a suburb that's south of Fort Worth. Right now, well, what I read, the population is 23,000. The way I stumbled onto this story is I was working on my other story and also watching something on Oxygen called A Killer Affair.
Bum, bum, bum.
And they said Benbrook, and I was like, hold up, wait a minute.
Stop, collaborate, and listen.
Let's stop what we're doing and record this show. So I recorded it and went back and watched it. So now we're doing an episode on it.
Got it.
So it's October the 1st of 2013. And one of several calls from that day from this person comes in to 911. And the guy is saying to the dispatcher that his girlfriend's ex-husband is very intent on killing him. He first calls him at 7:30 in the morning, and he calls them throughout the day. The last call right before the police arrived was at 2:55 p.m.
So this person is like constantly calling saying someone's trying to kill me. And I know this person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. It seems weird already, right? So here is some of the conversation that goes on with him and the dispatcher. The dispatcher can hear him talking to somebody else, or either that or he's just saying it. He said, he is going to shoot me. And the dispatcher says, where is he? And the caller says, I don't know. I'm trying to find him. And she says, don't go looking for him. Right? She says it just like that, which is funny. And he says again, you've got to get your people here. He's up in my house. I'm going to have to shoot him right now. Then the dispatcher hears a single gunshot. Then it's silent for a while, and then more talking. Officers arrive, which is within moments, and the dispatcher can hear the cops. You can hear them on the recording. And they're telling the caller, sit down, calm down. They find 2 handguns in his possession.
In the shooter's possession?
Mm-hmm. And there's the body of a man laying in the street.
Just in the road?
In front of this house in Benbrook.
Isn't Benbrook kind of a bougie town?
It's a little bougie. The house is really nice.
Yeah, it's not like a farm town or small town. It's kind of
the house is really nice.
Okay. So it wouldn't be customary to see a body laying in the street?
Not really.
In Benbrook?
No.
Okay.
Not really. And so he looks at the cop and he just says, I had to pull the trigger.
Okay.
So that's where we're at so far.
But the shooter knew the perpetrator.
Yes.
He knew who he was. Okay.
Yes.
So it wasn't like a breaking and entering kind of situation.
Nope.
Okay.
I mean, the cops don't know that yet, but
Sure. But by the tone of the 911 call, she could tell that he knew his attacker.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Well, he kept saying my girlfriend's ex-husband.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Don't forget that part. That's important. Let's talk. So the person that is on the ground, let's talk about him. He's our victim. His name is Richard Slatkin. He was a private investigator, and he invested insurance and workers' comp fraud, family law, and a lot of spouses wanting to catch the other spouse cheating. So he was really big on catching cheaters, right? He got married to a woman named Suzanne in 1973, and I found a lot of stuff online about them. She was a president of the Ridgely Hills Preschool Association, so she was really big into helping young children make sure that they started their education as early as possible. And his dad, Herbert, passed away in 92. His mom's name was Jane. I didn't really she did pass away later on, but I don't remember the date. I didn't document it. And I think the saddest part of this whole thing is that he had a son. He had 2 children, a son named Scott and a daughter named Bethany. His son, Scott, passed away in January of 1999. He was only 16. He died after collapsing at the Arlington Heights High School during preseason conditioning for baseball.
Did he have like a heart condition?
He did.
Oh, no.
So his teammates said that they were doing preconditioning, they were running, and Scott stopped near the end of the run and complained about being out of breath. So they all followed him into the weight room, and they said he collapsed and hit his head. He had a seizure, aspirated. They tried to resuscitate him, and it wasn't successful. He was an honors student, volunteered at a Rotary Club. His friends said he was always the one that initiated most of their weekend activities. So they were really sad because now they're like, who's going to, we're going to end up, So they're interviewing Richard because of his son passing away. So he was a private investigator, and his wife was prominent in the community. So it was a big deal. Plus the kid was only 16. Mm-hmm. So he's talking to the reporters, and he's telling the reporters that he and his son had many discussions about doing what he loved, and knowing that it could potentially cost him his life because, he had a heart condition. But he said, I let my son make his own decision. Clearly right now that might not have been the best one considering the outcome, right? But I had to allow him to do what he wanted to do. He said he was born with a heart defect, but had been cleared by his cardiologist in 1997 to play non-contact sports. And in his freshman year, he played golf and baseball, and his dad tried really hard to steer him down the golf path because it's not as physical, but he just wanted to play baseball. I thought that was really, really sad.
That is sad.
Okay. So, and then he had a daughter, Bethany, and she got married and has kids, so she's good and healthy and everything. A little bit more about him. In November 2003, he was in a legal battle with this inmate named Wendell, who told Richard, I have a daughter that my ex won't let me see. So Richard takes the information that he got from the inmate, and he goes and tries to find this guy's daughter. Well, so Richard found a girl that matched the description, so he sent pictures of this girl to the inmate, and the inmate was like, that's not my daughter, and then tried to sue Richard for $300,000, saying that he was negligent in his representation of who his daughter was, all this shit, right? Trying to sue him. It turned out that the mother of Taylor's alleged daughter, who once just dated the guy, provided Richard with an affidavit, saying that Taylor was not the father of this child. He's never paid child support, and he was in jail when the little girl was born. So he was just trying to find a way to sue someone, and he thought Richard was going to be that person. He wasn't.
And then for $3,000.
$300,000.
Oh, $300,000.
Yeah, but still, I mean, how are you going to come and tell me that you're so distraught because I sent you the wrong picture of a girl that you don't even know?
This is part
it's
of
not even your kid.
This is part of the investigation,
right?
And you have to validate what your child looks like.
And
I
I'm
don't
sorry
know.
You gave me sketchy information. I'm going by what you gave me, right? So,
you don't even know what your daughter looks like.
Exactly. And so now we're in 2007. Okay, Richard is in his office, his private investigator office, and he's working.
Oh, don't you wish we could be private investigators?
God, we would be so good at it.
So good.
Oh my gosh. So in walks a woman by the name of Catherine. She's very prominent in the community as well. Alexander was her maiden name because her family she's an heir to the Alcon company. Oh. Right? And that started in Fort Worth. So she's worth a lot of money. So she walks in and tells Richard, hey, I'm really interested in private investigation work, and I'd really like it if I could be your mentor and if you could teach me the ropes and teach me how to be a private investigator. I want to start my own business. So
when she walked in, did like Dreamweaver
I'm
play?
pretty sure, because you can kind of already see where this is going. So she was the granddaughter of Bob Alexander, and he was a co-founder of Alcon.
Okay.
So of course this friendship turned into an affair. You knew that was happening. I did find in the newspapers.com website, I found their engagement picture, and I did snag it. So we'll upload it.
And so he must have been much older than her, right?
He's older than her. Mm-hmm. Yes. The engagement announcement was in the newspaper in October of 2008. He divorced Suzanne in 2009 and married Catherine.
So he was engaged before he was divorced?
That's what it says. I might have gotten that backwards, but I was reading it from the newspaper. And I was putting the timelines together. It could be that the timeline from Keller Affair might be wrong. But I mean, it could be.
It is possible.
Well,
because
it was an engagement announcement, so that means they got engaged.
Damn.
So, but he might have
time.
divorced Suzanne before the engagement announcement. He probably did do that. I mean, he seems kind of like a good guy. I don't know. We'll see.
When Dreamweaver played, he probably was like, I
don't
gotta
even
get
give
this
shit. Like, I'll be polygamous at this point.
Up all on that.
So when they got married, Catherine was 26 and he was 62.
Like, I think it's fine to date older, right? Like, that's fine.
Well, but when you see him, he's not
62.
He's not
60.
He's not hideous.
It doesn't matter. 62.
Okay, well, we should reserve judgment for later on in the story.
I'm not judging. I'm just.
You are judging already.
I could not.
Well, just because you couldn't doesn't mean she couldn't. I mean, I probably couldn't either.
62. Oh my god.
And she wasn't in it for the money because she has her own money.
Right.
So she's not like a gold digger kind of person. She just, I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. So they eventually have a child together. They have a daughter.
At 62,
mm-hmm.
He decides to have a child?
No, they had a daughter.
What the hell?
What the hell? Okay, and then several years later, they have another daughter. So now they have 2 kids together. But
they're like, this is my dad, grandpa.
My dad, grandpa. So they had a second child together, but 3 months after the second daughter was born, Catherine's like, so I have to tell you something about this daughter that you've been raising as your own daughter.
What?
Yes. Are you ready for
the
this?
Real dad's 82. Was at the nursing home shopping last week.
The second baby wasn't his. In fact, it belonged to a guy named Jason Patton, who was an ex-boyfriend that the 2 of them dated on and off in high school. And at one point they were engaged. And of course, Richard was really in love with her. So he was devastated. And he wanted to keep their marriage together, even though he knew that the baby wasn't his and that she had cheated on him. He was just...
Well, he's knocking on heaven's door.
Well, and he was mainly thinking of the 2 girls. Like, he didn't want their lives to be all jacked up, right? But Catherine decides, I'm not in love with you anymore. I'm done. So they separated, and she made him move out.
And how long were they together? 5 years or so?
That was in 2012. So,
okay.
Yeah.
It was 5 years?
5 years,
okay.
Yeah. It said they had been married for 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, 3.
Okay.
Yeah, 2009. Yep. But the problem is Jason had a bit of a drug addiction problem, and he was constantly in and out of rehabs. Catherine and he fought all of the time. Eventually, his drug habit and all his extracurricular stuff caught up with him, and he was sent to prison on drug charges. And so now Catherine, she's already kicked out her first husband, right? Mm-hmm. She wants to divorce him. And now the person that she left her husband for is going to prison. And he's not going for just a few years. I mean, he's going to prison. So now she's left to raise both of these girls on her own.
That was her choice.
So Catherine's mom and Jason's dad, Johnny Patton. Jason's dad, Johnny Patton, is the CEO of Patton Energy Partners. And him and Catherine's mom had been friends since they were young. So I guess that's why she and Jason, how they met. So their families kind of grew up together because they were both wealthy. And like when you have that kind of money, you kind of run in the same circles, sure. Right? Mm-hmm. In fact, I think on the documentary, one of Richard's friends says something about that was old Fort Worth money. So they all hung together.
Okay.
So they decided to have a party. It says, I read that they kept calling it a family gathering, but I figured out that the party was Jason's going to jail. Let's throw him a party.
Oh my God.
Okay. So he's like getting ready to go to prison. So they throw a party to celebrate his one last free night before he goes to prison.
Okay.
So during this party, Jason's dad, Johnny Patton, comes up to Catherine and said, look, if you ever need, he put his hand on her. If you ever need anything, let me know.
62 as well.
He's older too. Let me know because I will help you. I know you're in a tough situation, and I know you have young daughters.
Well, and one of them is my granddaughter, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dad, Grandpa.
Yeah.
He said, please let me know. So the party's over. So Catherine invites him back to her place. where they start making out.
Shut your mouth.
No.
They are making out.
They're making out.
So wait.
And here's what I typed.
Wait, let me just...
She showed him where the magic happens. Yeah. Okay. So do you want to recap for me really quickly what we've already covered?
Jerry.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight.
Tell me. Talk to me. Goose.
Catherine has an affair and marries a PI who is in his 60s. Pulls him out of his long-term marriage with grown children. Almost grown children. Children.
Yeah. Yeah. One daughter because her son passed away. Right?
Has 2 young children with him. One of them is not biologically his. The second one belongs to an ex-boyfriend who is a drug user who then goes to prison. And at the party that she's sending her baby daddy to prison, starts to make out with her baby daddy's father?
Yes.
Her daughter's grandfather?
Yeah, dad, grandpa. You said it earlier. You didn't even know it.
Dad,
they didn't make out. Dad, Paul. My God, we're so bad, but that's brilliant.
Are you my grandpa?
They didn't make out at that party.
But they left.
He did, probably lightly caress her arm and say,
I hope
you need
is
any
she beautiful?
Help, she's all right. I mean, but she did invite him back to her place, and that's where the making out and all that happened. But it was the same night of the party. When the party was over, another party happened. Oh, chicka wah wah.
Yeah, the horizontal polka.
Yeah. So she starts to date Johnny.
Wait, they start dating?
Yeah,
like
she
a couple.
Starts seeing Johnny right before his own son.
The grandfather of her daughter.
They start seeing each other. Yeah, Richard finds out, and he's.
This is a real life Jerry Springer show.
It is, and that's why I was like, I've got to cover this because most of the time when we cover stories, it's the husband cheating on the wife,
right.
And this did happen. I mean, Richard did cheat on his own wife,
story, yes.
But at the same time, the person he cheated with she just did whatever, right? They said Richard was a really good husband to her, a good father to both of her children, and he kept saying, I want us to keep things normal for the kids. So because of that, Catherine kept also seeing Richard.
So she's two-timing her dad, Paul?
Yeah, she is. So Johnny didn't understand. Johnny would get really pissed off because Catherine would go to Richard's house so that the daughters could spend time together.
Okay.
And so she would go drop them off and pick them up, but she wouldn't just like drop them off and leave or pick them up and leave. She would stay. And so Johnny's over there like, why is it taking her so long? Why does she should just drop them off and leave?
Because she's getting service.
Well, at this point though, Johnny had moved in with Catherine as well. So Johnny's living with Catherine at the house in Benbrook, and Richard got his own place. And he helps her with the girls. So she goes to his house and picks up the kids and gets serviced and takes the kids back. So Johnny's starting to like kind of put it together. So he decides, you know what?
And she's divorced from Richard, right? They're divorced.
I don't know if they're actually divorced yet.
But it's known that they're
not
together.
Separated and they're not living together. He's got his own place. She's got hers. Now her son, her baby daddy's dad, has moved in with her. But she's still having sex with her
husband,
soon to be ex-husband.
Oh my God.
Now in the 911 call, remember he did say ex-husband, so I don't know if they formally got divorced. I didn't find anything in the newspaper about that. Okay. So Johnny goes to his sister. His sister is in the documentary a lot in the serial killer couple. She talks a lot. They interview her, and one of the things that she says is that Johnny kept asking her, do you think Catherine's being faithful when she goes to see Richard? And she's like, no, I don't. She didn't mix words. She said, no, I don't. Johnny decides, you know what? I'm going to do my own private investigation work. He follows Catherine to Richard's house, parks down the street, and he is blowing up her phone. Where are you? Why are you still there? And so as Johnny's getting more frustrated with her spending time with Richard, Richard's getting frustrated with Johnny for being with his wife, right? So he knows that like Johnny's blowing up her phone because he's there, he sees it. And so things are getting really out of control and dangerous, and tempers are flaring. So, Johnny's sister, the one they interviewed, she even told Catherine, she's like, "You are playing with fire.
Yeah,
like, you are.
You need to figure out which grandpa you want to
You
be
need
with.
to pick a man and stick with that man.
Yeah, it's
if you
not
can't
only-
stick with one man, then just
Not just for the sake of their hearts, but your daughters. Like, how confusing is it for them? Because they're sisters, but one of them's father is this one, and then one of them is the grandpa. So, like, how confusing is that for them?
no. The grandpa's not their dad. The grandpa is their grandpa.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
One of them
I see,
is
yeah.
the dad, and the other is the grandpa. So, like, that has to be very confusing
Yeah.
to them, you know? Because they're not, like, infants.
I know. Well, yeah, no, because the first one was born shortly after they got married, and the second one was born a couple years later. So they're just like maybe 2 years apart. So they're, if it's 2012, what are they, like 2 and 5 or 3 and 5 or something like that, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what they had, she had them in 2000. They got married in 2009, right?
Mm-hmm. And shortly thereafter, she was
So
pregnant.
they're 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess
They're little. They may be too little to know what's going on. And as long as he's still in their life and she's still in their life and they don't fight in front of them, maybe they're okay. Maybe they're young enough that it's okay. So Richard confides in one of his friends that he and Catherine are still having sex when she comes and takes the kids and stuff.
Wow, convinced to him he could
Yeah.
still do that.
Maybe he took the little blue pill. We don't know.
Well, apparently her shit's made of gold or something. So everybody's all about her.
All about the Catherine Slatkin.
All about it.
Slatkin. Now we're at November of 2015. Okay. So now, like, we know what happened. We've probably put it together. Who shot who? Because we know Richard was the one that was.
But the confusing part is why is Richard near Johnny?
Okay. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Promise. We'll wrap it all up nice and neat in a little package. They end up arresting Johnny shortly after the cops get to the scene and try to assess what happened. I mean, Johnny never denied that he was the one that shot him. He flat out said it was self-defense. He was coming at me. He threatened to kill me. It's all in the 911. The dispatcher has all the information.
It seems a little bit like it was kind of a setup. Because why would you call 911 that many times? And if you know, like if I know somebody's going to come after me, right? I'm not going to be where they can find me.
Yeah, the way that actually comes up later.
You know,
Even though
like
one of the cops is like, if you're afraid someone's going to kill you, you're not going to go to where you know they are.
No,
right?
And if I'm at home and I see you approaching my house and I'm worried about my safety, I'm going to get in my car and leave. I'm not going to go inside the house where you can come inside and follow me.
Well, and don't forget the dispatcher was like, where is he? And he goes, I don't know. I'm trying to find him. Okay. So the trial only lasted 1 week. He was sentenced to life in prison.
Wait, so what happened?
Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll get there.
Okay.
So they basically sentenced him to life in prison for shooting his girlfriend's ex-husband in the street outside her home in Benbrook.
The one that he's been living with her in?
Yes. That was her house in Benbrook.
Okay.
Well, that was their house, but she had him move out and she stayed there. So, and then Johnny moved in with her, remember? So it was her and Johnny were there. So that is where Richard was shot, is in front of her house in Benbrook. He got life in prison. Oh, and so he's saying the shooting was justified because Slatkin threatened to kill him, right?
Is there proof of that?
So according to prosecutors and testimony, before the shooting, Patton made repeated 911 calls saying that Slatkin was trying to kill him. One of the calls was played in court during closing arguments. And it was argued that everything Patton said was a calculated lie. During the recording, Patton said that Slatkin was trying to kill him. And the dispatcher said, does he have a weapon? And he said, I don't know. I'll tell you in a minute. Doesn't that tell you that he's looking for him?
Yeah.
Unless...
Didn't he say, I'm trying to find him?
What the attorney said after he said, I don't know. I'll tell you in a minute. He said, ladies and gentlemen, that's not self-defense. That's hunting. You hunted him down and he shot him. The court also heard from Patton's estranged wife, Latrell. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Latryle. Latryle?
Latrell? I would think Latrell.
Okay. She testified that she and Johnny Patton had been married for more than 40 years and that the divorce at that time was not finalized. But she said that her husband always carried a gun. And they said the same thing about Richard. They both always carried guns. And she also said that after their 2 sons moved out of the house, Johnny started using his gun against her, saying, she said he would hit her in the face with it. And she said, I did not go to the hospital because I didn't want the boys to know.
But how would the boys know?
Because they would find out eventually. Like, clearly they're going to know now. But she said he would tell her, I could kill you at any time.
So did Richard have a gun on him? I mean, he's a private investigator.
You'll find out.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll find out. So Patton's attorney played one of the 16 recordings that the authorities made.
16?
He called 16. Because remember, he started calling at 7:30 in the morning. And the last call
gracious.
saying that I shot him was almost right at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. At 10:24 a.m., he wanted police to arrest Richard. And this is what his attorneys say, if they had arrested Richard, none of this would have happened. So they're saying, you didn't do your job. Johnny, in self-defense, had to kill him because you didn't come arrest him with all the times he called to say, my life's being threatened. So they're trying to make it sound like it's the cop's fault.
Okay.
Yeah, good luck with that.
All right.
On the way to the police station, like when they arrest him, actually they're not on the way yet, but he's in the cop car and the killer affair, they've got footage of it. And he's saying, he's back there, or they have footage of it because of the cop cam, like the dash cam. And he's saying, I had to protect myself. I had to protect myself. Catherine, I had to protect the baby. He's a private investigator, by the way. And he thinks he's God and he thinks he's a police officer. He's been threatening my life for almost 2 months now. So Richard's ex-wife also testified.
Was that the first day he ever called 911? But he threatened his life for 2 months.
We covered that a little bit further down.
Dumb.
So Catherine testifies.
And
So
was she there when this happened?
She said in her when she testified, she said that the men were jealous of each other, that they were both hotheads. She did acknowledge having an affair with Patton's son that led to the pregnancy while she was still married to Richard. And she said, it doesn't matter how big this love triangle gets, Richard does not deserve to die. It doesn't matter if you're afraid that someone's going to kill you, you don't get to go out and kill them. That's true. She's right.
But I blame her. I mean, I know she didn't pull the trigger.
She didn't pull the trigger.
But she put all the pieces in place.
And actually, Johnny's sister says almost the same thing.
Well, like, she's a smart woman.
She didn't she didn't have the gun and she didn't tell them to do it. But all of these things that are happening are direct results of her decisions.
She is the common denominator in all those things.
So then, of course, when Johnny gets arrested, he gets a phone call, right? He gets to call somebody. Well, he calls Catherine. And of course, they record everything. So he's telling Catherine that Richard came running up and told him, I will kill your ass right now. And he's like, you should have seen his eyes. They were crazy. He was so mad. It's like his eyes were glowing. And Catherine's like, why did you do that? And he pauses, and then he's more concerned about who saw him in the cop car. Because he says something about, did your mom see me? Because then I think Catherine's mom showed up or somebody showed up. And she said, yeah, someone did see you. And he said, what did she say? And Catherine said, she says she hopes you rot. And he said, what? And she goes, yeah, she said she thought you did it on purpose.
Well, and does it say like how close in age Richard and Johnny were?
I think they're very similar in age.
Okay, so it's not
and
like
they probably knew each other too because, well, they ran in the same circles. I don't think Richard had the old Fort Worth money like the Pattons and the Alexanders did, but like they had to start getting to know each other whenever Richard and Catherine got married, because if Catherine and her family were hanging out with them, then I'm sure they met at some point. But yeah, they're similar in age.
So it's not like he's this older or younger, like more built, scary guy coming after you, you know?
So Catherine said in the beginning that she did believe Johnny's self-defense story and continued to live with him, even though he shot Richard. He bought her a ring. They told people they were engaged. She said, I think I was just so in shock over the entire situation. And I kept believing or trying to convince myself that Richard was just going to come walking back into my life and it was all just a bad dream. But then she said one day she just finally woke up and realized Richard is really gone. And at that point she was done, and she told Patton to leave. She said, Richard also did carry a gun, but she never saw Johnny carrying 2 guns. Remember, he had 2 pistols on him.
I had to have a backup.
So investigators confirmed that they did find that they recovered the gun that Patton used to shoot Richard, and then he had another gun in his back pocket. And I have the address, so I got pictures of the house too. Let's back up to the night before the murder. Okay. Catherine, there was a confrontation a night before the murder with a phone call. So Richard was living in a small house, so he decided to get an apartment. And he still had stuff that belonged to him at Catherine's house. So he asked, can I come over, get some movers to come over and get my stuff? And he said, the only thing I ask is I don't want Johnny to be there because I don't want to have to beat his ass. Okay. But Johnny's standing close enough that he can overhear some of the conversation.
But beating your ass and killing you are 2 very different things.
Absolutely.
You know, like if I want to kick your ass just because I hate you and I don't like you, that's one thing. I'm not trying to put you in the grave. I just want to get out some frustration.
Yeah.
That's very different.
Absolutely different. Of course, Johnny says he hears Richard say to Catherine, tell Johnny that I'm going to kill him. Okay. So the next morning, Johnny calls the police, right?
So that was like the phrase he's
That
probably
was-
waiting on.
Absolutely.
He was like, did he just say it? Ting, ting, ting. Everybody heard that?
Did everybody hear that? I'm going to the cops right now.
I'm sorry. Did anybody have that recorded? Can we play that again?
Yeah. So just between 7:30 and 10 a.m., he'd already called the cops 7 times. Then he and Catherine go to the police station. Okay? This is on the day of the murder. They go to the police station.
So 3 hours after he's been calling 911, he goes to the police station.
He makes
For what?
He makes Catherine go with him. And he wants to file a police report and wanted them to arrest Richard for attempted murder. So the police are like, okay, what's your story, right? So they get Johnny's story. Johnny tells them, he called my girlfriend over the phone, wants to come get some of his stuff, and he tells Catherine he's going to kill me. So then they get a statement from Catherine. And of course, she gives a different story because he didn't say that. Richard told her he didn't want Johnny there so he wouldn't have to beat his ass. That's what he said. So the police tell Johnny, like, we can't arrest him because you guys have 2 different stories of what was said. But if something happens, please let us know. Right? That's really all they can do. So Johnny and Catherine leave the police station. Catherine goes to get her hair. She had a hair appointment. So she takes her daughters with her and they go to the hair salon. And around the same time, Richard and the movers head over to Catherine's house. Okay? To get his stuff. Right? So they go to the house. But when Richard arrives, he sees the front gate is locked. And she specifically said she was going to leave it open to come get his stuff.
Right.
So about 2:30, Catherine gets a phone call from Richard and says, hey, the driveway's locked and he's mad. So she has to leave her hair appointment and go let him in. So Catherine lets Richard in and leaves to go back to her hair appointment. And so Richard and the movers start loading the truck. Johnny arrives.
Why would you arrive if this man had said he wanted to kill you or beat your ass?
That's a really damn good question.
Why would you go there?
Because he's so jealous.
Why wouldn't you just stay away? Or call the police and say, I want to go home and this man who threatened my life is there. Can you escort me home and keep me safe?
Well, because then he couldn't kill him.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah. Your story is bullshit, dude.
You are so dumb.
You are so dumb.
For real.
For real.
You are so dumb.
So Johnny arrives and immediately calls 911.
Okay.
No, actually, it says he's already on the call when he sees Richard. And he's like, 14 Crossroads, get the cops here now. He's trying to kill me. He's right there. He's right there, ma'am. You got to get your people here. Damn it, get here. And
are the movers still there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So the police show up, and we'll fill in the gaps, trust me. The police show up, and when they get there, Johnny is standing over Richard looking at him. And
Not
he
good.
immediately says, she got it all on tape. She got it all on tape, pointing to the phone, talking about the 911 dispatcher. And of course, Richard died from a single gunshot wound to the chest, and they didn't find a gun on Richard at all. Nope. Pocket knife in his pocket, but it was closed and he had no weapon. So the 2 movers see exactly what happened.
Okay. What do they say?
Johnny pulls up. Richard was walking down the hill with his arms up so Johnny could see that Richard didn't have a weapon.
Yikes.
His hands are up. Johnny shoots him.
He's so dumb.
That's
even more reason for me to blame Catherine even more, because Johnny was fueled 100% by jealousy and rage caused by her.
If she had just been honest and said, I'm still having...
chose a guy and stuck with him and either divorced Richard and said, I'm done, and been with Johnny, or told Johnny, look, I'm sorry, but I want to make my marriage work, then it would have sucked for him, but at least he wouldn't have had to wonder, and all the jealousy and rage wouldn't have built up, and he wouldn't have felt the need to point blank shoot a man on his own property.
Mm-hmm.
That's
right in front of the house. I have pictures that I got from the episode of Killer Affairs. Killer Affairs. Yep. Killer Couples. It's a different show. But
there is a couple, so I get it.
He in the other, Johnny's sister. Remember, I think her name is Debbie. I don't remember. She's on the documentary, and the one that's saying Catherine's like playing with fire. Mm-hmm. So she doesn't live very far away from where Catherine lives, and so she hears somehow word got to her that there was a shooting. So she gets in her car. So she's the one that drove her. She gets in her car and drives over, and she sees someone on the ground dead, and she's like, "Oh my God!" She realizes that it's Richard, and so she looks in the cop car expecting to see, who do you think she thinks she's going to see? Jason, probably, right?
Right.
But she sees that it's her brother, and she's like, "What the fuck?"
So
she doesn't know what's going on.
Oh my God.
But then she's like, "Okay, well, this is the exact kind of shit that I was warning her that was going to happen. Mm-hmm. This is why you don't play with feelings like that.
No.
And you figure out what you want to do, stick with that, and so that you don't play both of these men."
Do you think Jason's in jail like, thank God I dodged a bullet from that crazy
I actually wrote this. I wrote a question. Where did I put it? When do you think Johnny tells his son that he had an affair with his baby mama?
Right?
Does he go visit him in prison and say, "Hey, Dad," or "Hey, son, I'm taking care of your baby mama for you"?
Okay, Dad, but just so you know, she really likes it when you do this.
Well, but at this point now, they're both in prison.
Well, I'm saying if he came in to visit him.
Right.
Like, do they share stories?
Do they share a cell? I don't know. I didn't find out what prison Jason was in, but Johnny is in the Estelle unit in Huntsville. Life in prison.
Well, that's what he gets. I mean, it's murder. It's 100% cold-blooded murder.
But clearly he was very intent on making sure that everything was documented from the 911 calls. There was another part that I remember just now. In one of the recordings, they can hear his car accelerating.
Johnny's?
Yes.
Like he's trying hard to get there?
Yes. Which ends up helping the jury go, yeah.
You are so dumb.
It was a very calculated thing. You thought you were covering your ass by calling so often that you didn't realize that you were accelerating to get there faster because you were probably running out of time, or God forbid, Richard be done with his moving and be gone by the time you got there.
All because of a straight hoe.
Yeah.
A hoe.
She walks in, wrecks his life. He lets her. I mean, he made the choice to, but I think he really, really, really loved her. I mean, why would you put up with that anyway? And then ultimately, he just wanted what was right for the daughters. Even though one of them wasn't his, he treated her like she was his own. I mean,
some men have kids and don't even take care of the ones that are theirs.
Oh, snap.
So, you know.
But, I mean, clearly she really, really likes to have sex. That's pretty much what we know.
And so let me guess, she's like living the life, right? Like she got to be pampered by an older man, right? Live in a nice big house. Then she got to be with another man, right? And then another man. Like, what did she do? What are we doing wrong?
I couldn't string that along.
No. I'm just saying, for all these guys to be like, oh, what about me? What about me? What about me?
But think about it. They were all in her circle. Although Richard wasn't someone that she would have met without going into. But, like, I think there was a little bit of legitimacy to that. She probably really did want that to happen. And I don't think the affair was something that was intentional. Well, I don't think that was her intention when she went in there. It ended up being that. And she had another affair and another affair, went back and just bounced all around.
And, like, I've never understood how, like, what people will do for you, they'll do to you. Like, you tried to teach me that lesson a long time ago, and I didn't want to hear it. But then I learned it. If a man will leave his wife for you, he will also leave you for someone else. But if a woman will be with you knowing you're married and it be okay with her, then she'll also cheat on you with someone else. So, like, why is anybody
I mean, there
surprised?
probably are people that have done it once and probably never again, but it's probably very uncommon. It's more likely that
It's like a behavior
it's
thing.
I don't
like a moral thing.
I don't really know. Maybe there's just some people in the world
mean,
that
like-
don't want to be monogamous, and that's just how they are. But then just be honest about it,
And
though,
don't be
just-
married.
Yeah,
Don't get married.
Yeah.
And when someone talks to you, be like, listen, I just want to let you know, I'm not looking for anything serious. I'm not a monogamous person.
Just want to hit it, quit it, roll. Maybe
it.
I'll come back and hit it again.
Toot it and boot it. I'm out. I'm good.
But what I did read about her is that she still has her daughters and lives somewhere in the Fort Worth area.
Well, I hope she does feel bad.
I'm sure she does, but who knows what's going on with her now? I didn't find anything about
I just
her.
think it's wrong to string people along.
It
It's
is,
wrong to
and
cheat.
now like two little girls don't. Their dad, one of the dad's dead, and the other one's in prison.
So is so Jason's still in prison?
I couldn't find anything on him, so I'm assuming
Not
that
only
he
her
is.
daddy, but her grandpa
her
too.
dad and her grandpa are in jail.
Her dad paw.
And
Both.
her dad, Pa, and then the other little girl's dad, he's dead.
He's dead. Because of her sister's
And so,
dad paw.
what kind of story is that going to be for your teenage daughter who
Right?
wants to start dating? Mommy, what happened to Daddy? Well, before you read it on the internet, let me just tell you, go listen to the Lone Star 187 episode.
32. And it'll be all about what I did.
What I did. And they're going to tell you how I am and what I did. It's all facts, ma'am, though. It's
Just the
not
facts.
bullshit.
Just the facts, ma'am.
We didn't make anything up. I got this all from newspapers.com.
It's not a
Current
Jerry
affair.
Springer show, not to be
It's
confused.
Definitely not. I mean, it could be.
It could definitely be.
Some crazy shit going on there in Benbrook.
That's crazy.
Isn't it?
It's a very good story. But it's sad. It's very sad. Even if, let's say that she were to marry him, right? And not be around him that much. And say, okay, I'm divorcing Richard. I'm going to marry you, Johnny. She still has a daughter by him. And he knows what it's like to have children. So he knows that his ex-wife is always in his life because
that's
of
a
his
good
child.
point.
You know, so
They're tied together.
so maybe
as
that's why he's
co-parents.
like, well, as long as he's alive, she's gonna have to talk to him. So the only way to ensure that she'll never be with him is to kill him.
Yep, that's probably besides jealousy is that's a really good point that he knew. Okay, well, he wants to be in his daughter's life, and I can't take that away from him.
Right.
Well, I can, but there's only one solution to
Right.
that.
I mean, if both kids belonged to Jason, then he would have had more of the upper hand.
Yep.
He'd be like, you have no reason to see him.
Yeah. I mean, I know
But-
you love them and you helped raise them. Rest in peace, Richard Slatkin,
Rest in peace.
and rest in peace, Scott Slatkin. I know he wasn't killed, but at
But
least
still,
they're
he
together.
was taken too soon.
Yeah, and they're together. So, all right. Thank you guys for listening and sharing, and we love you. And we'll try not to let there be so much time in between episodes. I think maybe I might have enough material for another blooper reel. So maybe that'll be coming up soon. But anyway, thanks again.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.